I was looking through email 2 nights ago and just trying to catch up to some emails I hadn't even opened and read. And unfortunately, many of them are from friends. And, you get to the more urgent stuff first. But I knew that these friends could wait and they'd understand if they didn't hear back from me, for a week or so. So I was just going through and just, oh, look, I'll call her Joan. Oh, look, an email from Joan. I haven't heard from her in a long time. And click, open it up. And she kind of begins the email by just saying, hey, I don't know that you know kind of what's been going on over here. They live a couple states away. And she said, I just need to bring you up to date on our lives. And then she went on to say that, Dave and I are separated and he's filed. And she's just heartbroken. And she's, explaining in this email, I just never thought this would happen to me. I never thought this would happen to me. Everybody thought we were one of the really strong Christian couples. And she said, I just thought we had a commitment to talk things through. I thought we had a commitment to work things through, but he left. And he doesn't want to work things through. And I just thought, oh, my goodness, these are good people. I mean, these are people who love Jesus. They're people who, at least I, on the outside, would have thought, I mean, they're fairly mature and healed and, wow. That was a eye-opener. That was like another one of those wake-up calls.
That's such a sobering story, John. Just the life is hard, and it is hard on couples. So storms do descend. Difficult times do come, and we just want to talk about that a little bit today.
Welcome back. I'm Craig McConnell. I'm with John and Stasi Eldredge, and we're just continuing our conversations based on John and Stasi's new book, Love and War, which is out now. And we've been enjoying these conversations for weeks now. We just want to continue.
Yeah, last time, if you've been listening to the Ransom to Heart podcast, we were talking about little foxes, the little things that get in, pace of life, tone of voice, family, work, the irritating little things we do. But today we want to talk about the big things. We want to talk about when hard times hit. And I'm thinking about that parable that Jesus tells about 2 houses, right? A house built on the sand, a house built on the rock. Everybody remember that probably. And he says, and the winds blew, and the rains fell, and the waters rose, right? In both stories. Right. It wasn't like, and that happened to the house on the sand, and wasn't that a shame for them? That's the common denominator in both stories. And that's what I want to just highlight is, gang, storms come to everybody. Hard times come to everybody. And, I mean, it doesn't mean you're blowing it.
Right. To not be thrown by that fact that, yeah, it is hard. And there could be any number of reasons why it's hard. So not to jump to conclusions of, whoops, bail, wrong marriage, wrong man, wrong woman.
Or just freaking out, right? We're going down, or it's me, or how could this happen? Freaking out, panicking. I think that's the first thing we want to say is, hey, whoa, hang on, time out, take a breath. Hard times come to everybody.
Yeah, and we don't get to choose how they come or where they come or when they come.
Oh, dang.
But as we're talking, I'm just thinking of Job's counselors. I mean, we really do need help interpreting what's unfolding.
Yes.
But we need a good interpretation.
That's good.
We need an accurate, a true what. I mean, what is going on? Because there's so many options that you could park on as this is because of sin, I've done something wrong, God's heart isn't good, it's warfare.
We'll never make it.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't really love me. I married the wrong person. I mean, just pause, right? Notice your reaction when the earthquake hits. Just notice the internal, because, gang, your interpretation of what's going on and why is going to color everything. And the scriptures offer, half a dozen reasons for hard times, As we said earlier, in love and war, whatever else is going on, marriage is always about God's divine conspiracy. It's always about our transformation. And, when hard times hit, I so quickly as a man rush to solutions. Fix it now. Beat this, conquer it, regain ground. That is instant reaction as a man. But I have to pause and go, whoa, Father, are you after something in me? Jesus says, take the log out of your own eye, and then you can see clearly. Then you can see clearly, right? And I'm probably not seeing things clearly, especially, when things get hard. I freak out. All that internal stuff starts going on.
Yeah.
Pause. Father, what's the log in my eye?
My heart is just going out right now to those of you that are listening to this and that you are in the middle of a storm right now. And I'm sorry. And I just want to encourage you in this moment now, invite Jesus into it. Invite him in. Invite him into you. He hasn't left you. He hasn't abandoned you or your marriage. That is a promise that we can stand on. I hate it. I'm sorry. When it's hard, it feels like that's the truest thing and that's the only thing. But it's not. It's not. Invite him in.
Well, when things get hard, the two shall become one and all of that. When things are hard in your marriage, it feels like it's striking at the core of your world.
And it is.
That your own personal security, the security of your home, your family. It's so core that the sword cuts both ways. Everything that's possible in intimacy and oneness and together in this life. When that isn't true, oh man, that feels like it's just hitting at some of the deepest things about us as people. To fail at group softball, right, isn't a big deal. I'm not a good softball player. I join because it's fun to do, but to fail in relationship, in marriage, it just this can feel like such an earthquake. So pause, time out, catch your breath, put the gun down, and begin to unpack why are things hard? What's going on here? Is this revealing some deep brokenness?
Yeah. And don't you, too, think that big storms kind of are multi-layered in terms of what's behind them?
Absolutely.
I think there's always a redemptive, transformational dimension to any storm. But then there's also a warfare element. The enemy is in this as well, making it, accentuating themes and parts that you don't accept is from God. And it feels like there's in a marriage, the storms just expose areas he wants to invite you into, growth and healing. There's some exposing, disruptive dimension.
Craig, that's so good. It's multi-layered. I like that. That's really, really helpful because I think people have a natural inclination. Some folks immediately go to, it's me. It's me. I did it's something wrong with me. And so shame, fear, self-contempt, guilt, taking on, right? And, for those people, we want to say, look, that may be true that there are issues you have to deal with, but there's other things.
Yes.
You have an enemy. Your spouse has issues to deal with. There may be things in the marriage that need to be dealt with. But just by way of contrast, there's a whole other category of people that go, it's you.
Yeah.
This isn't me. Right? This is you, you did this to us. And whoa, time out. While that may be true, that they have some major issues that they're not dealing with, so do you. There are other categories to think in. Please recognize the multi-layered approach to this, for people who don't think about warfare. Oh my goodness, you're being naive. Of course the enemy's all over it. If he didn't cause it, he's sure trying to make it worse, right? And so if you don't pray against Satan in your marriage and for your marriage, you're being naive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if you're the kind of person that jumps to, this is the enemy, right? And, we got one of those letters recently, and it was all, pray for us, we're going to shut the enemy down in there kind of thing. And it was so exclusively the enemy. Part of me just wanted to go, I'd love to pray for that, and I obviously believe that, but hang on a second. How come this is the only category you're using? It was almost like the letter was revealing, whoa, you are not looking at your own life at all.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a broad category of when storms descend, because we're talking about kind of leaning in right now, talking about internal storms, relational storms. But many of the storms that come against a marriage are the titanic waves of illness, or an illness of a child.
Illness, yeah.
Or death, or a loss of business, finances. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's just a zillion, and they are excruciating. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people, and I know people that have had just about every kind of horrific thing come into their life, things I pray I never experience. But people who have made it to the other side together. And that whole thing, John, about what's the foundation that you're on.
Yeah.
There's certain truths that we know no matter what, that we can stand on, cling to, define us, draw our strength from, no matter what. We don't know what tomorrow holds. Some marriages, honestly, they don't make it. And to know that in the midst of that, you will make it. We don't want you to bail. We're not saying that, but just knowing that the one who is good, who does know your future, who loves you, he's not going anywhere, and that there's hope. This amazing God says that he can turn all things to good for those who love him. I mean, that's wild, and he really means all things.
In Romans, where he says, Paul says, this is the God who gives life to the dead and calls things that are not as though they were. Speaking of Abraham and his story, right? Those core truths, hanging on to just a few things. I literally have to sometimes tape this stuff on my bathroom mirror. Literally, I have a little note card that says, I am loved.
Yes.
How great is the love the Father has lavished on us. And I just, I am secure. I am forgiven. God is with me.
Yes.
Just a few core truths that help us move from house on the sand to house on the rock. When the storms are assaulting us, whether internally or externally, whether because of the marriage or just against the marriage, what are you standing on?
Yeah.
What do you cling to?
Yeah. Stacey, the word you use, together, it just strikes me at how many of us storm hits and we kind of just buck up and almost in isolation. A couple try and fight it on their own. But to really believe the Ecclesiastes passage that two are better than one.
Yes.
And that actually three are better than two.
Yes, and amen. And Craig, there's power in your testimony of this because you've been hit with an illness and a diagnosis that can be terrifying. Yeah. And you could do it all on your own, separate, and maybe you do sometimes, but you're in it with your wife. Has that made a difference?
Yeah, she's been strong when I've been weak. She has hope I don't have. She's optimistic when I'm not. We go to the doctor. She hears something entirely different than me. And when she recounts it to me, I go, oh, yeah, he did say that. All I heard was, the negative or the cynical or the depressing or something. So, yeah.
That's so good. So when one falls down, there's something there to...
And just the third one, I mean, just as you were talking about truth, just in these storms, being driven to God in a way that we want to live, but it's the storms that take us there. And I can just think of many couples I've counseled over the years who would say after the storm that they went through hell, but they've never been closer to one another and to God.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And there's this ring of thankfulness for something no one would want and they don't want to repeat.
But they would never not have it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. And that's true.
That's available. I think that's what I have to remind myself. That's available. That's not an elite spirituality for a few special people. That kind of experience of, no, I have found God in ways that I have never found him before, is available to every person.
Amen.
Again, so much more. Gosh, we'd love to unpack here. And if you haven't gotten Love and War, we hope you will. And if you have, we encourage you to give it to another couple. Share it. Spread the word. We're about a revolution here. We want to save hearts and lives. And so pass the word along. And come to loveandwar.net for more video and blogs and podcasting, and also our tour, the Love and War Tour, where we'll be in Abilene and Austin and Orange County and Seattle, Tulsa and St. Louis, Omaha and Charlotte, North Carolina, in January and February. So it's coming up, and tickets are going fast. So you can pick up your tickets at loveandwar.net. Stacey and I just love to meet you, see you, shake your hand. Love to spend an evening with you at one of those events.